so many army buzzwords in this, it's going to be unbelievable.
I get told off for those as well quite a bit.
What is it? Having a cable. What is it?
Oh,
yeah.
Right, let's let Mark get on with his bit.
You've got a whole language of your own, you fellas. Welcome back to the Apprentcie121 podcast. It's us again. We're back talking about more training routes into the electrical industry and also touching back on something we covered earlier, which is to do with resettlement. I've got Jamie with me again tonight. How are you, Jamie?
You've asked me that already before this recording started, and I think it's best for everyone to don't repeat that. So
he's having a great time. He's loving life. We've also got somebody new to the Apprentcie121 podcast. It's Lawrence Harrington. How are you, Lawrence?
Yeah, not too bad, Mark. Thanks for the invite and thanks for having me on tonight.
No, cheers, mate. We appreciate you coming on to speak with us. You've got an interesting angle on things coming into the electrical industry, and you're also currently in the services. So I can't think of anyone better to speak about resettlement with than yourself. Just to cover off at the beginning, Craig could appear on screen at any time and his voice might quirk up if you're listening. He's running late because he's having trouble getting the little one into bed. So hopefully he joins us as well. So watch out for Craig popping up. So first and foremost, Lawrence, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, where you are with things now and how you came to be in that position?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, as you've already alluded to, I am a current member of the services. I'm a Royal Signals power engineer in the Royal Corps of Signals. Currently, my job is actually as a training, design and analyst. However, my main trade, when I do actually do it, we work with temporary electrical systems, power generation distribution system, generators up to 40 kilowatts. And the types of installations we do are festival type temporary electrical systems, but on a much smaller scale than what you'll see at Glastonbury and Reading Festival and the such like. But the comparison is most definitely there as well. We do design, installation, commissioning, maintenance of both the power generation side and the actual distro side as well, and also commission it safe for use as well. Plus, we also get to drive big green trucks as well, which is always good fun. But not as big as the one Jamie drives.
Oh, brilliant. It sounds really interesting.
I keep away from FEPs. Fuck that.
I need to brush up on all this terminology you lot have from the services. I've got literally no idea when you start talking about stuff like
FEPs is what is temporary. FEPs, field equipment port. What is it? Field equipment
power system.
Field equipment power system. Go.
Yeah.
So you're on the generation side of things and temporary installs. Is this something that you've always done while you've been in the services, or did you kind of work towards that through a different avenue? I don't assume you were enrolled and on day one they chucked you straight out into a field sticking power cables in.
No, they chucked us straight out into a field to learn us how to leopard crawl and get muddy as well. But no, I joined up straight out of school. My family background is my dad's ex-army as well. He served in the infantry. Granddad's Second World War, but he was also part of the volunteer force before that. So I've got a long standard of military within my family, especially on my dad's side. I joined up straight from school, hearing all his lovely war stories about and all the good fun stuff that he got up to as well. And I joined the Royal Signals. The best piece of advice he ever gave me was don't join the infantry, get a trade. And that's exactly what I did. So straight out of school, 16, sat my GCSEs, May, June time, 1998. And I was in basic training at the Army Apprentice College, Arborfields in September of that year. Here I am, just short of 24 years later, talking to you guys here on YouTube as such.
Oh, what a journey, mate. So you've definitely put a shift in then in the military. That's fair to say to you. So respect, mate, first and foremost. Good on you for doing that. And I guess you've picked up a whole raft of skills outside of just being an electrician along the way. It's a really different world, I guess, coming from that kind of environment into Civvy Street, trying to get a job and work in a trade. Is that a challenge for you at the minute? Are you kind of on that transitional resettlement program now, or are you waiting to get on with that?
So I'm not quite into the resettlement, the official resettlement period yet, but I've been building towards my resettlement since about my 17, 18 year point, because one of the things that I found listening to my peers and my other senior people around me, that this one of the single biggest problems within our trade group when we get out of the army is, as what you said before we started recording, most people have no idea what we actually do. So it was planned that I would start doing things early to start building the qualification base, start formalizing my training, and actually being able to sit in an interview and actually hand some pieces of paper over in qualifications and say, look, I know you don't know everything that I do. However, here is X, Y, and Z. Here's what I can do. So the start state, essentially, as a conversation opener for people as well.
Nice. So that's kind of you taking the bull by the horns, I guess, then getting ahead of the curve on that, not waiting for that window of opportunity that presents. And is that something that you just figured out amongst people in your circle, or is that something that you've had more at a careers level from in the military? I know Craig mentioned when we spoke about this on the Resettlement podcast that there is some organizations within the military, I think, that kind of guide and advise all of you guys and girls. Did that happen with you, or have you been ahead of that really?
No, so what Craig was talking about is a career transition partnership. We'll talk about that in a bit as well, because I've done a little bit of reading up on it early today about it as well. And I've spoken to a very good friend of mine who's actually going through the whole resettlement process at this minute in time as well. And I made that distinct choice to get ahead of the game early, get it done early, as you said, take the bull by the horns. At the end of the day, it's my career, it's my life. If I didn't make the best use of the resources around me, I'd be an absolute fool. I've seen too many people get to their last 2 years, last year, last 6 months of actually being in the service, and then having first keyword, Jamie, ground rush.
Yeah, like a fuck, shit, do something.
Yeah.
I'm still sat here shocked that he was like starting at the 18-year point, getting ready, mate. To be fair, but
yeah.
I'd been good there, but yeah, fair one.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. I just didn't want to suffer from ground rush, because the last thing you want to do is, as you may see from the photos in the background, as such, like I've got a young family as well. My wife, although she does have a career outside in her own job, I've got a child to think of. I've got a house. I've got to have a job. I've got to feed them. Although I will have my pension, I'm still going to have a mortgage. I'm going to have rent. I just didn't want to suffer the absolute ground rush that some people do. There is still going to be panic. There is still going to be stress. There is still going to be things that I need to do. But I was going to make my life and my wife's life and my son's life as easy as humanly possible, as and when it is time for me to stop being Staff Sergeant Lawrence Harrington and be Mr. Veteran Lawrence Harrington.
So how do your qualifications then, aside from what you've done to kind of set yourself ready to transition into the electrician's world on Civvy Street, how do your military ones stack up against those? Because I think we've had discussions before where I wasn't sure if it was exactly the same or if they were different. I know there was a changeover where I think Craig said this. I hate quoting him when he's not here, but I'm sure he said it's kind of swapped over now, where you are doing more of the kind of the NVQ3s that we would do, but in a military work environment. What was your position on all of that?
Yeah, so what Craig was talking about there was, as what he said at the time as well, and as what one of my comments were on it on the video, was they're correct at the time. So now what we've done is where there is a requirement to be qualified in something, we will be qualified in that regard. Oh, sorry, I had pizza earlier on. Domino's is now repeating on me.
It's could get nasty. It's could get nasty, this podcast.
Yeah. So we our qualifications, if it is to a City and Guild standard, it will be exactly as what the qualification handbook says. So prior to me doing my 2346, I do have 2377, 11 and 12. That's how long ago I did it.
Jesus.
Yeah. what other ones? 7671 18th edition, we get that. 239152 as per the qualification handbook. And there's a third one as well. I've got my 2396 City and Guilds qualification as well. All of these are delivered to the City and Guild standard, because the training regiment where I'm currently at now, we still get hit by, or I say hit, we still get Ofsted inspections actually here. And also we get EQAs, we have IQAs actually come in from the City and Guilds to actually assess the instructors and also how we deliver training as well. So
where's that run at? Where's all that at?
Blanford.
Oh, right. So yeah. So is it still military or is it civvy?
It's run by military guys here.
Oh, right.
Much the same as where was it RSME Chatham for you? Is it?
It's not. Well, I've got to be careful now. I think it's run by Kent College, RSC Chatham. I've been down to do a course. My certificate come from Kent College. I think it's been civilianised. I think it's under. I'm not saying it is because we're getting thinking, but yeah, I think it's. I just wondering because it is still military. I think yours, by the sounds of it. Whereas I think RSME. It's not. I think it's been adopted by, or whatever the situation they got themselves in with the civilian college. So it's nice to see they're still doing that.
Yeah. So the one of the main reasons why we still get the military guys in to do it is, or keep our military guys, is we do it on a short course. So our courses are what are they? They're 7 days long because we can do that, but also we do some box body familiarization for inspections as part of the competence training that actually he's doing, which is why we've got the military guys in to do it, because it provides actual context and contextualization for our guys coming through to be able to do it. And as what Mark said, we're speaking our own lingo again as well. So
none of your gear is civilianized, is it? It is all military equipment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all green. Pretty
right,
much.
yeah. Whereas the trade train at Chatham to be an electrician is civilian trade training, and obviously if you do FEPs down there, which is generators and stuff for anyone, I think that is then delivered by the military. Don't quote me on that, anyone, but yeah, I see what you're getting at now. I see where it's coming from.
Yeah, I guess it's a hard balance, isn't it? Because they want to be able to make sure you guys and girls now to do the job you're actually there to do, but also to give you a fighting chance when you exit to come into the civilian world and have qualifications that are going to map and match. So it sounds like you've got a good blend there, Lawrence, to be honest.
Yeah, it's it takes a lot of justification, shall we say, to actually get it. Takes a lot of justification to get through, because as you can imagine, everything revolves around funding and requirement as well, which is, it's a good thing. The signals overall has progressed a lot over the last 20 odd years, which in fact everyone's progressed over the last 20 years. No one is still as they were 10 years ago as well, which is really good. So yeah, the resettlement piece, since you've mentioned the transition going out, there is actually a document called the Joint Service Publication that actually stipulates what the policy direction, guidance, and what each individual is actually entitled to. And it all depends on how long you've served. So whilst Craig would have got out and he would have had a set budget, a set amount of leave days, a set amount of training days that he could have had, or he did have access to, because I've done near double the time that he served, I would get a lot more than what he did as well, which is good.
Yeah, so it kind of it bases what you can draw down, I guess, on the length of service you've given, essentially. So that that makes sense, really, doesn't it? If you put a longer stint in, you're going to need a bit more money at the end to transfer your training and skills over. You've earned it, so why not?
What's your end game, the launch? We've done loads of the resettlement stuff. What's the end game? Where are you going? What's happening?
So I'm actually already registered as a sole trader already, and there's a company locally that have allowed me to subcontract with them as well.
So you want to go domestic, industrial, commercially, temporary? I don't know. What do you see yourself doing?
Pretty much everything, really, to be fair. So,
All right, Billy Big Balls, fucking hell. Just asking.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of everything. During COVID, to answer your question, I'll go back to resettlement. To answer your question, Jamie, I actually did a load of 7909 training with Sparky Ninja anyway, because I had money spare. One of the best things about COVID was showing me how much money I spend on frigging Amazon.
That's what I was getting at, because obviously you're going to be nails at temporary stuff, which is great. But do you not want to travel around with a circuit? You want to be at home when you leave, dear? Is that your crack?
I've had enough time away from the family.
Yeah. Because I'm saying that's a good trade to be and good earner, but obviously it's traveling it, roading and stuff like that, basically, and that's not what you want to do. Even though you've clearly got a lot of experience, and that's just off the table, is it?
Yeah, I wouldn't so much say it's completely off the table for the immediate future. Probably not, but I'm not gonna. If someone came and said that I've got a contract for you to run Glasgow or Reading or something like that with a ridiculous price tag on it, I'll be an absolute moron to actually turn it down.
I think that's what it is, isn't it? My brother's a roadie. 3 months of career, 3 months of festival season, he's gone.
Yeah,
I think there's money in it, but yeah, I didn't know if it was totally off the table for you. Want to be at home, or whether that's something you're gonna. Because it's quite a hardcore skill to acquire, really. Unless you're either a roader or ex-forces like you are.
Yeah, so it's actually quite a hard industry to break into as well, which is strange, really.
And it's also quite an odd industry to work in it, because dragging 240mm singles rounds are a complete pain in the arsehole, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's like normal work for me, so
yeah, I suppose so. But you don't have to lay it all out and eat a glass to be for inspection.
No, just fling it out, you've done a job, whatever.
So you might still do that, but then anything electrical, just installing, is it?
Yeah, so the industry that I really want to get into is installing Tesla walls, battery banks into people's houses and that lot as well. Because one of the other jobs that we do within my trade group is we actually, when I was a young soldier, we were looking after battery charging. Sorry, I keep knocking the table. Battery charging facilities and internal battery systems within vehicles and the such like as well. So I'm really comfortable around charging systems. I'm really comfortable around alternators. It doesn't bother me having batteries near me, where I know some people are.
I shit myself. I don't like batteries at all. They're just scary things.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas maybe I'm a lunatic, but I'm really not bothered by them in the slightest.
I think that's good. It's a good move though, because like, if the last thing I remember, the last big thing to happen in electrical was EV, wasn't it, basically? And it's just a fucking waste of time, if I'm honest. But with solar and storage coming along, I think the difference between that is that you need to have a brain. And that'll take all the fly-by-nighters that will ever go at it will just set themselves on fire. So having less fear of batteries and a good knowledge will do you well in that trade of thing. Whereas with EV, it's just like smashing holes through people's walls, basically. So yeah, fair one.
Yeah, someone described it to me. It's stick it on the end of a radio with its own RCD on it, and you've done the job, really. It's
just a shower. but yeah, I mean, I don't like batteries, so fair one. But that's where it's going. I've tried to do some battery storage for it, to be honest, but I can't afford the batteries in the last month because I've got up that much. But it's got to be the future, because no one's paying all this money.
No, exactly. In a way that the fuel prices and electricity prices going at the minute as well. If I time it right and I get all the training done that I need, or the extra training done that I need to, I'm going to hit the ground running, and I'm going to be quite set, I would hope, anyway. So it's definitely getting into the solar, definitely grid tied, definitely charging electrical energy storage systems for definite. Be that either the smart grids, the smart microgrids out of EV cars, or whether it's installing things like Tesla walls as well.
It's a big business, like you say. It's just in the news today, isn't it, that the energy prices in October are off up another 800 or 900 quid. So
not for me. I've got the meter bypassed.
Yeah, it's going to be the in-demand thing, isn't it? Where it's one of those where you time it right, Lawrence, and you get in there as a sole trader or a new setup. You can be your own master at the end of the day and work the hours you want to work. Maybe employ minions to install the battery systems for you, and you can take a seat and boss them all around. But
What's good? Oh, sorry. What is good for people like that? And who's the guy who's the electrical engineer who does the battery storage market? I think you're having him on, or you've had him on.
Stuart Cater.
Yeah.
Lawrence might know him anyway from LinkedIn, I think.
What I think
I know of him. Yeah.
I think the crack with that is what suits ex-forces types is it requires a lot of admin, which is obviously something you don't get for free. So I think that's why I see so many ex-forces doing that kind of work, because they're good at admin as well, which is probably 50% of the job.
Yeah.
And obviously humping
I've noticed just by being a sole trader, because a couple of years back, I stripped out and rewired my VW T4 that I had, and I just recently doing a mate of mine's transit van as well for him, for a bit of solar and sockets in the back as well. And I've got trying to sort out all of his stuff, and it was like, wow, this is a lot of admin, a lot of times.
That's what the trade struggles with. And I'm not slagging off all apprentices here, but I've got to. Apprentices can be trained to do jobs. It's not usually a problem to do practical stuff. Training someone to be good at admin is like putting a bit of wet spaghetti up a cat's arsehole. It's just like, where do you start? I don't know how to train people to do admin. It's just something I'm quite good at, but I can learn to do practical things. But how do you teach one to, like, oh, you've run out of cable, you should have ordered some more? And they're like, oh. So like, that's something that comes naturally to people who have to order food 24 hours in advance, obviously they don't eat. Like, that's one of the skills that they've got. That's why I say to people go for ex-forces, because although they might not be the most skilled or knowledgeable, when they turn up, they will turn up. Yeah, and you can fuck them about, basically.
Like you said once upon a time, we get messed about by professionals.
Yeah, fucking. Like, although some customers this week have pushed me a little bit too far, if I'm honest.
It is a problem when you are dealing with employees getting the right information out of them. I can vouch for that. The amount of times I've had my guys not sending pictures of someone's driveway when you're trying to claim an EV grant, and you have to go back just to take a photograph of an EV charge point on a drive. It's so annoying. And
I'm not just, just to disclaim there, I'm not just slagging off apprentices or learners there, because I've worked for some companies where the management's been dog shit. Yeah, my admin's better than this, like that. I mean,
you sound like my guys now.
I know, I am. You know, I am, Mark. For fuck's sake. But yeah, it works both ways. But what I will say is, anyone ex-military, unless they're RAF, obviously, will rock up and have a reasonable amount of good admin skills.
I think that sounds like a nice fit for you, Lawrence, to be honest. If you've got your expertise in the power generation and your temporary systems, there's kind of a tie-in with that with the battery systems as well, anyway, because you've got to provide your own means of earthing. Like you say, you're comfortable around batteries. You've already got that knowledge in there. This is something that we're learning as electricians. You know, there's no real experts out there apart from maybe a handful of niche contractors. So you're timing it just right. I would say my advice is do as much product training as you can. So do the Tesla training, do the Sonnen battery training, it's all there for free at the end of the day.
That's interesting comment, Mark, because do you not think, like all the EV courses, just to go a bit of side note, they're all dead, aren't they? That's what it's all about nowadays. It's all about individual product training, I'd say. It'll be an interesting podcast. But
I mean, the EV course that I did, it was more ticking a box than anything. I didn't really get much out of that
as well.
But in certainly doing the product training on some of the EV equipment, that has been really, really good and useful. Some of it is just a video you watch on the internet, and it's not the best. But some of the stuff that My Energy do, in particular, it's really good. And I know that the Sonnen and the Solar Edge training is fantastic as well. If you go on their web portals, there's some brilliant free training.
It used to be sales pitches, though, didn't it? This is the thing I need to get to my head. Manufacturers training used to be sales.
Yes.
And now it is probably the most advanced training you're going to get, because they're developing it.
Yeah, they want their products to be installed properly and by as many contractors as possible, and teaching you how to do it is in their interest, isn't it, at the end of the day? So we're saying it's free, but really they're trying to hedge the bets a little bit, but also know that it's going to be installed right. So yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. Matthew's done his Sonnen training and his Solar Edge. He's on with all of that. He's driving our gravy train towards installing batteries and solar.
Have you got a wheelbarrow for all the money?
Well, that's what he wants to get into. It's like working outside and all the rest of it. That's where he wants to take my little business, and he's already stolen Lawrence's idea, I think, to be honest.
I've gone that way myself.
You're all the way up near York, so I think we're safe.
Yeah.
I'm in the Midlands. That's it. We got this shit mopped up. I've just gone energy. I've just sat down again for a person listening. I've got a job now. I've got a job to start next week, because I want to get into battery storage and generation in the energy market again. And the only way to do that as a little fish is to go for a firm, which I've gone for, because I could have grafted my nuts up in a contract to try to learn it, but I've got in there now because anything like that, that's the future. That's what you want to get involved with. You crazy apprentices, just want to bend pipe. That's what it's going to be at.
What are you actually doing now then, Jamie? What's your new job role while we're talking about it? Let's delve into that a little bit.
I don't want to give away too much more because, as you know, I might get sacked within a week, especially if they see these podcasts or some of the stuff I've done on YouTube.
We won't tag the employer.
I'm going to work for a company that when, when the wind doesn't blow and there's a downturn on the grid, you'll see all over the country via various manufacturers and companies, you'll see these containerized stations of generation, oil and stuff and gas. And this is vague now. I'm going to be an EC&I engineer, leading EC&I engineer on those.
Nice.
So yeah, bit of work in a way, which I'm not really into, but the actual technology is so interesting to me in the power industry and that area that I've gone for it. And I always talk to that bloke who's got a little podcast. What's the little podcast called? The little tiny podcast.
Oh, you mean Sam?
Yeah, I had a conversation on text with him the other day. I'm like, I'm never going PAYE again. I'm never going PAYM. Cut me through the hole in the middle. I say self-employed through the middle, and I'm eating my words now because I've got a job. But I just think it's sometimes you've got to working for people. You've got to get more out of it, aren't you? They've got stuff going off.
Well, we all have different things crop up at different times. I've always said I won't go back PAYE, basically because I don't think anyone would want to employ me. But it's just not what suits me. Is that something that you've thought about, Lawrence, while we're speaking about that? Have you even thought about a PAYE position, or are you solely focused on being the master of your own story?
Well, 6 and 2 3s. I'll never say never, but after being in management from 2004, which is a strange thing to say. So one of the things that a lot of people, especially soldiers, probably don't take into consideration for themselves is that as soon as you're promoted, you are essentially, for lack of a better description, in management. And I was first promoted in 2004, and I've been management ever since. And having a management role at the age of 22, essentially, I was in charge of £150,000 worth of equipment. I had a young guy with me, and like I say, at the age of 22, in Civvy Street, I'm reliably told that that's virtually unheard of. And then throughout the years, my team has either become more skills diverse, more personality diverse. Sometimes I've had guys that have been better than what I have within certain aspects. Other times I've actually been the one leading the actual training of my juniors underneath me as well. So whilst I'll never say that I will never go employed, and I will stay self-employed, and I will stay sole contractor or a subby, a lot of things will always depend on what's going on at the time, what's available around me. One of the easiest ways, as you well know, to pick up experience is actually go work for somebody, work with people.
Yeah.
The subbying that I did with a local company around here, I've worked with them 3 or 4 times now, and I've learned loads just by actually being out on the ground with the guys and chatting to them, learning how to do stuff, seeing different ways people actually approach stuff that I would never have considered, and actually coming up against problems that I would probably have struggled to solve by myself. And literally he took one look at it, showed me a way to do it, and it was so bloody simple. It's a case of, how did I not see that before?
This podcast way too positive this week. We're gonna start fucking walking unicorns in a minute. We'll start getting on like this. Fuck's sake. Where's all the bits? I think I agree, mate. Like you say, you go and work with someone, you get shows to be like, oh, is that easy? But then again, you could go, oh, I don't know an easy way to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm big into that at the minute. And I think certainly for my career, which is probably why you've been in the army, electrical engineering went like this. It just leveled off for years. Nothing happened. There was the odd LED light came on. That was a big switch, but it was still just some boring lights. And in the last year, it's just like warmth, like batteries and generation. And it's just been flat for years. There's been like really boring technology like RCDs coming along and LED lighting and I don't know, shitty little clips that join trade together. All these little steps have been happening. And suddenly now we're in this big bit where it's bang, bang, bang. And anyone coming to the trade now has got a lot to do. And you probably have really got to specialise, haven't you, I think, is the way it sounds like everyone's going.
Yeah, so pick your niche and find your niche, because as you well know, the electrical market, as you well know, because you work in it, Mark, is saturated with domestic sparks. There are a few that dabble in commercial, but there are also those that are niched into industrial, heavy plant and heavy electrics, as I call it, themselves. HV is a complete industry. And a friend of mine, some of the stuff he talks about, it's completely alien when you start talking about the HV networks that he manages on science parks and stuff as well. And there's so much. It's like one of your guys previously on another podcast said, what exactly is an electrical engineer? What is one?
It is a vast industry, isn't it? And you said earlier on, well, you don't know what you don't know. I'm sure you could take us out into a field somewhere and start lugging cables around, and I wouldn't have a clue. I'd have to be at your instruction. So it works always round, Lawrence, doesn't it? And the fact you've identified that and found someone to go off and work with is such a powerful message to anyone who is wanting to retrain. To get out there and actually do it is the best way you can learn anything.
Yeah.
You know, was that domestic contractors? Was it commercial? What sort of environment was that in?
So the company does all three, commercial, domestic, and industrial. Their niche tends to be more smart house lighting than anything else. Or whilst they do EV, they do all the I say standard. Sounds very flippant. Whilst they do all of that kind of stuff, a lot of the stuff that they advertise and a lot of their case studies is the niche smart home type stuff, with audio visual sound systems and such like as well. And some of the stuff that they actually do, it looks bloody awesome when it's finished. It really does look good.
Yeah, you see some, the rainbow spaghetti, I think some of the installs that you see with all the data cables they pull in everywhere is incredible. Some of that, I'd probably have a go at it and nothing had worked, so I'd get the rainbow colours all mixed up. But yeah, that's fantastic that you found an opportunity like that to go and test the water, I guess, see what it's like and fill some of the gaps in your knowledge. What are you actually doing in training at the minute then? You say you're working in the training environment are you like directly teaching? Are you organising how the training centre works? What's your actual role?
So when I first got sent to Blandford, I was actually as a trade instructor for the junior soldiers. They're called initial trade trainees now. Because we've had a bit of the army, overall has changed some of the terminology and the way training is actually done. So whereas before it was very much like, I won't say sausage factory, but it's that you start a course, you go through, you get taught all the different modules, you come out the other end, you get posted out. And then later on in your career, you come back and you repeat the process. That was very much how I was taught going through from the first part of my career. But they've looked at that now and they've decided that it's not the best way to teach someone. Surge all the information in and then try and retain it. So they've come up with a different way of doing it. But when I came through as an instructor here a few years ago, that training or that surge training was still very much in there, and I was very much doing the initial trade trainees, which it was hard graft. It required a lot of admin. There were some mistakes going through, but overall it was good. The guys passed. They enjoyed it. They went out into the field army, and they got on with their jobs as well. Now my current job is I design the training material. I actually write the trade training statements the guys are doing on there as well. So I have to be down with all the qualification handbooks and all the military terminology and processes and compliances that are stipulated that we have to follow, that are in line with Ofsted as well. And to make sure that our training is fair, valid, current, and safe, really, as well. So that's where I'm at currently as well.
Is that something that would interest you later on in your career after you've finished your battery storage and stuff? Do you see yourself as a lecturer in Civvy Street?
Again, I've always joked that I'm getting out of the army eventually, and I will be into my I'm 40 now, so the older I get, the less able my body will be to carry on doing the hard graft and the hard stuff. So at least for the next, I suppose, 5 to 8 years, no, I won't be in a training environment. But past that, when I'm into my 50s, possibly my 60s, Maybe not. We don't
Tell you
know.
what, mate, wait till you see the money they're offering. You might change your mind next week. There's some telephone numbers going around at the minute. I'm telling you, honestly. So yeah, bear that. And I'd just like to tell that to anyone that would think about training, because they are desperate for trainers. To be fair,
I was going to say there's been a mass exodus lately.
Not wank ones though. If any of you chances watching, yeah, there's enough for them.
Well, yeah, there is definitely that, especially with the IET tightening up the requirements under the EAS as well. That's got rid of a lot of people as well. The old road traders. Yeah.
So what about are you going full stab or what?
Say again.
It'd be rude of me not to ask if you're going full stab when you leave.
No.
I don't
know what either of you are about again now. Explain this to me.
Stab is a funny acronym for an army reservist. So I just wonder if he's going to carry on.
It's not a very nice acronym for an army reservist either.
Google it is my advice. Okay.
I'm going to have to write a list of these for me, Jamie, so I can start Googling them. I hate these chats where I don't know what's going on.
What about in the trade though, Lawrence? Because you want to be a sparker. This sparky rolls out there, isn't there? I probably know that's what I do.
That's how me.
I'm doing this shit in reverse.
That's how me and you actually got chatting on.
Yeah. But I don't know if you consider it, because obviously you've got a lot of skills to carry on giving, and there's a lot to give you still. So like I'm not a recruiter. I'm just generally interested. What that big yay or nay?
There's one problem though, Jamie. I'm Royal Signals. You're Royal Engineers. Can you imagine the amount of grief that I would get if I jumped ship across to you?
I'll tell you what, it doesn't. Well, maybe at your end, but it doesn't happen at our end. I will say, just because it's an STRA thing, because we get all these random people turning up with all these crazy qualifications, but it's just you're out and you're out of here.
Yeah. Like I've always said, maybe not. I don't intend to, but intentions change.
That 10 grand might come back, eh?
Yeah.
You've certainly put the work in, Lawrence, I've got to say. So you're talking about your exit date. How far into the future kind of is that, roughly? What you're thinking?
Yeah, so to be honest, I was so when I joined the army, it was a 22-year maximum service as standard. Now, as anyone's maths will have done, I'm well past my 22-year point. I was put onto an extension of my contract called VENG, Versatile Engagement, which gave me up to 24 years as my exit. Now, when was it? Year before last, I was actually given and accepted another extension up to my 30-year point, which takes me right the way up to 2026. No, yeah, whenever. I'll do the maths later. Which takes me up to my 30-year point. So I've got the option to stay in for quite a bit longer. Yeah. But again, I could get out right now. I'm immediately pensionable. I've got all the qualifications that I need to. Will I get out in the near future? Likely. One of the main reasons why I took the extra contract, which I was grateful to be offered for, was because we were slap bang in the middle of COVID. It was literally June 20 that I was given the offer, and with no COVID exit in sight, I was getting paid. I had 4 walls and a roof over my head. My wife was still employed. The boy was still going to school. I was still getting paid. I'd have been a fool to turn around and say no, to be honest.
Yeah, of course you would.
Definitely.
Of course you would. I totally understand that. And now you're in a nice position where you've got the choice, haven't you? You're not under any real time pressure. You can pick and choose when you're going to go for it, or if you're going to see it through for 30 years. I'd assume you get a massive plaque or a great big gold medal if you get 30 years, surely.
I've had a look at the pension. I'm not going to say it on here, but the actual pension payout at the end, the gratuity payment, is significant, shall we say?
That's a tempting reason to stay in then, I imagine.
Yeah, just a bit. The one that I get even just now after 24 years is decent, and the monthly pension payment is immediate as well. So I'll get that plus my gratuity plus whatever I actually earn as well, which is always a bonus. Which was one of the benefits as to the reason why I stayed in for as long as I did, or as long as I have, sorry, and as long as I continue to do so, was the pension was good, or is good.
Rightly so,
Payouts that
you earn that. So yeah, you all you guys and girls thoroughly deserve every single penny you get, in my eyes.
Thank you.
The payouts that good to be able to afford a Vito Pro Pack.
You might have 2 or 3.
Or 2, yeah.
Could be a right
It's that
tackle
big.
tart with all that money when you leave the service.
No, I'm one of these guys that, although I like seeing other people's shiny stuff, I don't like forking it out. £250 for it makes me feel sick when I'm handing it over. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. No.
I totally get that. I've seen on your LinkedIn as well some of the posts you've shared about your professional registration. We did briefly mention the IET. Lawrence is actually an incorporated engineer.
Yes.
So kudos to you for that, mate. Achieving that while you're still in the services and you're not out in Civvy Street doing a day-to-day work is unusual, I would say. I can't think of anyone else who I've seen do that. Certainly not in my network.
Yeah.
Is that IT, Lawrence? Do you have to do the signals do it through the IT?
Yeah,
you're closely associated to them, aren't you?
Yeah. So we actually go through the direct through the IET. You go through the Ministry of Royal Engineers, don't you?
Yeah, we have our own, so we roll.
One-stop
yes,
shop.
I think it's good that they've got, because they're quite in bed with them, aren't they? It's good that they've tied that right in, because obviously not everyone's good enough to have their own organisation like we are. But yeah, I saw that the other day. I thought it was really good that they've tied that in, because really, to be honest, it's the IT's most suited to signals and that, isn't it? It ties in bang on. So yeah, I saw that the other day. And anyone who's in or resettling or doing it like that, it's dead easy to get that banged out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It really looks good on CV.
Yeah, one of the things that Craig alluded to on the last YouTube video that was, I won't say he's right, he was half right, is that a lot of the trades now, the operator and the techs, the telecommunications guys, once they have actually done their class 1 upgrader training, which basically qualifies them in a lot of stuff, they can fill in their what's called DERS paperwork and actually be registered as either an ICT tech via the IET, straight out Eng tech, or if you're in the same trade as me, you have to take a slightly different route and you can become Eng tech electrician as well.
Yeah.
The big Billy bonus for that as well is you get a nice big gratuity golden handshake for it as well.
And they ought to pay for it, or the force pay for it.
Yeah,
I think if anyone's watching, I'll chat with you now. If anyone's watching in the forces, the rough rule of thumb I have is if you're class 1 and you've done a junior commander's course for Lance Corporal, you get Eng tech. That's the way I see it. I think it is. I think it's virtually that.
It might be for the Royal Engineers, but for the Royal Signals, we have to go through the actual full IET route. So I'm actually the endorser for my trade group for the Eng tech elects as well. So what will happen is the guys will get sent an actual application form as what you would do as if you was a civilian electrician as well.
Yeah.
So they then fill out all the parts, the general information, their career structure, what they've done. They'll then answer the 3 questions that are on there. One talks about a fault, how you solved it, what your part was it. Technically, projects, etc. The next one is a project that you organised, and what your role was it as well. Essentially, for those that understand it, the who, what, why, where, when of a project. And then the third one is all about ethical behaviours, ethical principles, health and safety, safe systems of work, and a big one that everyone's driving, as what we were saying earlier on, sustainable development and ethical engineering as well is a real big one as well. I help the guys translate military speak into civvy, just because, as you well know, Mark, and some of the guys watching this will be thinking, you're still gibbering what you're on about.
He's friends with it.
Yeah. So it's I then do that. I help them translate things, get it to format. I say format. I help them write it in their words, but it's easily understandable. It flows well. So yeah, and then because it goes to a board of civilians within the IET, they'd probably take one look at it if I didn't do that and send it back and go, what you want about? We don't understand any of what actually said. So yeah, that's what I do on that as well.
And I'm sure you agree, anyone who's in the forces, transition, whatever, or as that option should get that shit done.
Yeah.
Like, anyone, in fact, who should, anyone who's above 27, 28, who's been an apprentice, just get Eng Tech. What's the lowest one? Eng Tech in it. Get it done. I've got my luck. That's not. I need to do my Eng, but COVID ruined the interview. Yeah, get it done. It's really good in interviews and stuff.
It can set you apart. It certainly opened doors in the civilian world. If you've gone to the effort of doing that, it does mean something. So yeah, definitely get that ticked off. Is it like a PRA role you're doing then, Lawrence? Because that's what we would call it in the civilian.
So although I'm not officially trained as a PRA, I don't take on that PRA role as such. I just help them as best as I can, really. I then help out. The IET knows what's going on because we have a separate training system for it, because we're military and we do things slightly different, but along the same, in parallel with civil industry. So although whilst we are different, we are also the same as well. So yeah, it's
really good. Really good. Yeah, it's really good that's made to happen for you guys and girls. I think that's fantastic, and good on you for helping make it happen for other people. There was other people from a military background who kind of messaged in after that resettlement episode we kind of winged, and Craig led because he knows far more about it than I do. So there is other people going to be watching this, Lawrence, in a similar position to yourself. I mean, I've let them know you're coming on to speak with us. So is there any advice you would give to somebody who is kind of coming towards the end of their service and they want to start looking towards entering the electrical industry? Any tips you could give them to make that a little bit easier for them?
So plenty of research. Speak to guys that actually have actually out in Civvy Street and who have essentially done what we're trying to achieve now. Be aware that there are lots of people that will just take your money and run. Trying to people. Yeah, we can find you though, Jamie. We know where you live. No, it's understand what you're getting out of it at the end of a course. Always ask, if you're going to pay your own money, always ask, what is this going to allow me to do after I've completed it? Because what I found when I was looking for courses to actually formalize my experience was some of the courses were 21, 23, 28 days long. But when I actually looked more detail into it, it just turned out that I was an entry-level individual, not actually able to go out and do what the advertising, shall we say, led you to believe, essentially.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
No, it's been a case of come do this course, 28 days over 7 or 8 weeks, potentially be trained as an electrician, small print, probably.
Yeah, we've seen them. They're out there, and they do target service leavers with some of them because they don't know anything better, especially if they're not in doing something in that trade already.
Yeah,
they'll suck them in.
So yeah, just be careful with the resettlement. Talk to as many people as humanly possible. The more senior guys will understand. I say senior time, senior rank, senior experienced people, and the staff type roles will know that there's a joint service publication that's openly available that states what an individual is actually entitled to for resettlement. It is also actually available through Google as well. JSP 534, I think it is. That's available through the Gov website. You just I'll send you a link after this, Mark, if you can stick it onto the YouTube. well, that'd be much appreciated. And that literally goes through, and it's one of the more clearly written JSPs as well, that actually gives firm direction. Yeah, it actually gives firm direction of what you can, what you can't do, what you should expect, and it also quite early on stipulates what the complaints and appeals procedure are if you think that you have essentially been not missold or something, or you've just missed out on something that you actually think you should have had. And then it'll get investigated, and you'll have an outcome at the end of it as well. And it has fixed timelines in the document for that as well. As one of the things that I saw. But definitely, if you want to get into the electrical industry, pick an area that you actually want to go in, and then speak to guys that you want to go to and try and get even just a couple of days on a weekend or what have you, to then actually try it, really.
And you're the first person who's said that, who's done that, because if anyone's watched these podcasts last week, I'm not saying anything negative about the lads we've on. I've said to people, watch your end game, and they're like, oh, I want to be an electrician. Great, but what kind, what flavour?
Yeah.
So yeah, you come on, you're like, you know, where you going, like, obviously a lot of research. And again, if anyone's watched this who's training, what year are you in there? 24?
Me, 23.
And year 23, and you started prepping at year 17.
Yeah.
But then we get people who think they're going to be sparks in 6 months. You're already effectively an electrical engineer doing electrical engineering, and you put 5 years effort into getting out and getting trained in that. And then obviously that's just such a young lad. You can't just rock up 3 years later when you're off. But yeah, fair one for looking in and doing your research and knowing what you want to get into, because sometimes that's what missed me a lot about lads. That's why I start saying people, hey, what's your end game? Because they're like, I want to be an electrician. And then I remember a lad walking to our firm in dead smart clothes. He got an apprenticeship. He's like, why are you in dead smart clothes? He goes, you're electricians, aren't you? He says, what do you think we do? He says, do you fix tellies and stuff? I was like, no, mate, you're in for a shit time. It's nice to have someone that's researched it and gets in. And like I say, people, all engineers love talking about what they do. They love banging on about it, which is obviously what I was sat here now doing this podcast. And people that say, I can't find out about it, I just think, I don't know, horrible, maybe you're talking shit. Yeah. Like, you can't find a sparky that looks talking about sparking. Yeah. Then I don't know where you're ragging him around. So yeah, fair one for that, mate. It's a good example to set to anyone that wants to get into the trade, is that.
Fully echo that. You're setting a great example, Lawrence.
And we don't fix tellies.
No, we don't fix tellies. In walking the walk, you know, you're doing it. You're focused on exactly where you need to get to, and I don't think you're going to have any trouble whatsoever. I think once you make that jump,
unless obviously because you're in the mess, you're a raging alcoholic. But
yeah, you'll thrive. You'll thrive, mate. Really, you will. You know, you've got all your qualifications there, an absolute stack of experience, and the drive to make it work. I can see it, and having just spoken to you for the last hour now, you know, it's written all over you. So full credit, anyone who's watching this and wants to go through that process, you need to put the work in like Lawrence has. That's ultimately what will get you a successful outcome, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah, is there anything else you want to speak about, Lawrence, while you are here? Anything else you want to mention?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head. One of the big things though is if you are actually, in fact, actually, I'll just waffle on a bit more now. One of the things that I found when I was doing my 2, 3, 4, 6 piece was the biggest challenge whilst I was doing this, along with my actual day job, was not being employed as an electrician. So I was fortunate in as much as that you through Instagram actually put up a big shout saying about getting jobs for updating Waltham College. That's how I met Craig as well. And,
yes.
I was down there. You were doing a walk around, and I was the one spouting off in the background, talking to my assessor as well via Zoom. It was. So if you are, it can be done. It's just a challenge, and you have got to take that organisation and understanding to an absolute next level. If you're not directly employed on a day-to-day basis, whilst you're actually doing the 2, 3, 4, 6 piece as well. I was quite lucky with a couple of people that actually allowed me to take pictures of their jobs, or their jobs, wrong, jobs, not their jobs, Jesus. I'm going to get City and Guilds tapped
They'll
on
be
me.
having the certificates back now.
No, not their jobs. On my way. Double that now, shall I? No.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, the jobs. They allowed me to come on the jobs with them to allow me to take photos. My portfolio was my friend's house rewire that I was helping out on and did a lot of stuff. An EV charge point. A lot of stuff was done down at Waltham College. And also a friend of mine's bar build as well in his back garden was what my portfolio actually consisted of as well. So they were all really good. So yeah, it can be done even if you're not employed on a day-to-day basis, but you've still got to have, as what I did before, the raft of experience and a shed ton of CPD actually done to make sure that you actually know what you're talking about, you know what you're on about. And also, as you can see in the background there, a ton of books and reading material.
There's no shortcuts. And I think you're really saying that point to people. There's no shortcuts. We've got a lot of people on here. Oh, I'm going to be a sparker in this course. There is no shortcuts. You're proving that.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, it's dead hard to get work. Well, yeah, it always has been. Like when I was an apprentice, I used to spend selling bananas on the market to make it pay. It's never been easy. It's never been easy to train. I'm glad you're coming on and telling your tales about how hard it is for someone who's organised and knows what they're doing roughly, because just sells that point home to people as well. Like there's no shortcuts.
It's been really, really, really good chat. And that day at Walthamstow inspired me. We're doing a bit more of that. We've got another day down at Fusion training soon, where we're going to try and organise an event for people from the services background to come in and help them with a bit of experience, and also use them for some free labour to help the college out. So it's a two-way street on that. You know, everyone gets a bit of something from it.
Mostly free labour though.
Yeah, mostly free labour. So yeah, we're going to be doing
clean up like absolute gods. That much I will say.
So we're looking forward to trying to help in our own little small way, and kudos to Craig for setting all of that up, because that was a really good time down at Walthamstow. Yeah, we're looking forward to doing a bit more of that in other places too. Anything else you want to speak about, Jamie, before we end this one, mate?
I feel now we've had 3 of these podcasts, so I was just going to ask you about, is that your award in the background there?
This one?
Yeah.
Yes, it is, mate. I've shared that all over social media enough now. Everyone's sick of it. Everyone's sick of it.
I like the plinth you've got though. It's nice.
Yeah.
I thought I'd mention after 3, and I thought about time we addressed the elephant in the room.
Threatened to batter me to death with it, because I did put it on the van seat and he made me take it out. So.
I'm thinking about getting an award here soon, but watch this space.
Oh, well, you never know. You never know. I've loved the chat again this evening, guys. Thank you for giving up your time, Lawrence. Really appreciate it. You as well, Jamie, for coming on again to talk about this. It is all to try and help other people at the end of the day and enjoy ourselves. Anyone who's got any questions and wants to get in touch with Lawrence, I'll put a link to his LinkedIn profile, probably, if he agrees to that. And we'll also tag that document that he mentioned. I've forgotten the numbers and letters, but we'll put that in the description of this video as well. Any questions, drop them in the comments in the video. As always, we love the engagement. We try and join in and get back to as many people as we possibly can. And until the next time, we will see you again soon.
Peace out, guys.
Well.